Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TT Radio. Tune in, talk it out with Teachers Talk Radio.
Well, hello there, everybody. Hello. So if you're not aware, today's show, this evening's show on this wonderful Sunday evening, hopefully you all got out there, got some sun. Today's show is actually very special because I am both talking, which is absolutely no surprise to anybody out there, but we also have a live feed of the show. Hopefully I'm looking crisp. I did some press ups before I came on. I've got I'm looking ripped. For those of you that can't see the show, I'm really, really handsome. And for those of you that can see the show, well, yeah. So today what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at assistive technology. Assistive technology is my kind of mastermind specialism. It's what I do. It's my job where I work. And I want to talk about a fair few things, to be honest. I want to talk about a fair few things when it comes to assistive technology. I want to talk about the benefits, such as the benefits of the yellow eyeglasses that I'm wearing. This is not just a fashion statement, those of you that can see me. I spend a lot of time in front of computers, and for no medical purpose whatsoever, but for my own kind of mental health, the yellow lenses seem to make my eyes feel a little bit better at the end of the day. Speaking of glasses, if you think to yourself, oh, well, what is assistive technology? Well, if you wear glasses, you're using it. People kind of have this thing, and I'm exactly the same, because a lot of the assistive technology that I talk about and that I recommend to students, a lot of that is to do with, high technology, mobile phones, programs, apps. But we're talking about things that help people. And so glasses, it's an assistive technology. If you didn't think about that before, you heard it here first. Hey, look at that. Go on me, always teaching. We're going to have a look at different types of assistive technology. I'm going to tell you a little tale about the assistive technology that I discovered clearing out a cupboard at work that I hadn't looked at for far too long, and the wonderful world of historical assistive technology that's out there, and some of the things that I found quite interesting about that. Going to have a look at Tom's Tech Tips. We're still doing that because I've got the jingle loaded up and everything. I don't care. All right. The producers can say anything that they want. I'm still having that jingle. I made it. You know what I mean? All right. So no, leave me be. What do you mean about production values? I don't care about your production values. It took me ages to do that. So we're having the jingle. We're going to have a look at free assistive technology today. Adopted Yorkshireman that I am, I do like free things. Not, I'm incredibly tight. But free assistive technology is the way forward, and that's what we're going to be looking at in Tom's Tech Tips. After that, I'm going to be having a look at technology that doesn't necessarily advertise itself as assistive technology. I think sometimes it's a very, very shallow pool that people kind of dive into when it comes to assistive technology, because they think that it has to be purposefully built for a particular purpose when it comes to assistive technology. I don't think that's necessarily the case. In fact, I've tried in my job to try to raise awareness of some of the things that are out there that may not necessarily strike you as being assistive technology, may not necessarily strike you as, having a specific use for somebody who is disabled. But there is stuff out there, and I'm going to try and go through quite an interesting example that I discovered earlier this week. And then it gets a bit loosey-goosey, because that's as much as I planned, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to lie to you. You see, I can't lie now because there's a camera there. That's massively... Because what I could be doing is I could be all happy-faced and talking at 50 to the dozen, like usually, but I could be looking like this. But now a camera's there. The camera does not lie. Tell you what, it does put a lovely sheen on my forehead, though. Looking good, Tom. Looking good. So, today the first bit is we're looking at assistive technology. I work somewhere, and one of the jobs that I do, and strangely enough, I absolutely love my job. I'm one of those really annoying people who kind of like gets into work, looks forward to work. The people that you like would happily murder on a Monday morning, you know, when you're dragging yourself in, you've bathed in coffee at 5 o'clock in the morning, you're dragging yourself in, you think, oh God, oh, not another week. And I'm there and I'm like, yeah, let's go. Look, I found this thing. Look, you know, people's eyes glaze over and it's like, this is really interesting. And people are like, no, you leave me be. You leave me be now. I love my job. One of the really good parts of my job is that I get to test, sample, and assess assistive technology for lots of different reasons across the board for many different students and staff, and that's great. But along with that, my role has only been going for a few years. It hadn't existed before I got the job. The miraculous case of me getting a job. That's a story for another time. It didn't really exist, and I've only been there for a relatively short time in the position, about 3 years now. But there was a cupboard when I got to my job, upstairs, hidden away, squirreled away, much like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And you open the door, and instead of a beautiful winterscape of fantasy and adventure, I was faced with like 25 years of old assistive technology just gathering dust. Anybody else would have looked at that and thought, oh my God, what a state. But I was enraptured. I was like, there were angels playing in the background. It's like, I thought it was the best thing in the world. Assistive technology is my bag, and historical assistive technology, I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. I geeked out. I saw some of this stuff. Some of this stuff was programs that from companies that no longer existed, you know, that had been there for 20 years. A lot of the stuff was on floppy disks. For those of you out there who don't know, floppy disks were not floppy. Well, the plastic on the outside is floppy, but you could get about like 3.5 essays on a floppy disk, and then you had to use another one to get the rest of the last essay on. I'm from the generation where the first time I used a USB pen, it was like magic. That's how old I am, people. You know, it was like, oh my gosh, you mean you can put a whole album on that tiny little thing? But anyway, yeah, there's programs that were on floppy disks. There was ergonomic equipment. There was 2 mobility scooters just shoved in the back, just like nothing, you know, just 2 mobility scooters just shoved there. But I was having a look through some of this weird and wonderful stuff. I was having a look at split keyboards. I was having a look at cassette tape dictaphones and recorders. I was having a look at technology that you stuck to the top of a page of paper and then you wrote, and then it digitized things to a certain extent. And it struck me how much this weird and wonderful technology was basically just the kind of forebears of modern day mainstream technology. There was a cassette player from the American Institute of the Blind that was used by people to primarily record and read back material such as audiobooks. You know, it's the prototype of, you know, what we listen to today. The amount of things that we listen to there, Audible is there, and it's huge. These guys were doing it in 1997. You know, there was a digitized paper thing where you could write on paper. It digitized it onto a machine for you through many, many, many different wires. You know, the wires went kind of like round the building and then past the lost city of Atlantis. You take a turn when you reach the Holy Grail, and then it's old tech, but it's not to be sniffed at, because the ideas that these people had, the way that it was built, it meant that they were thinking about people with disabilities. And that digitized paper, well, we've got that kind of thing still. People use their tablets for handwriting. People use the Remarkable series that has like paper writing. The guys that did this, I believe it was Pegasus, which was a company. I don't even know if it exists anymore. I hope so, because it was a good thing. they were doing these things 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Even when mobile technology was just in its infancy, people were thinking about these things. And the reason that I find that interesting is because assistive technology is often thought of as the other when it comes to technology. But what I had here was a living, breathing, well, it wasn't living and breathing, it was dusty and old, but a historical record, kind of assistive technology that started off trying to help people, a relatively small group of people. It's not exactly that small, but we'll talk about that later on. And what it ended up doing is it ended up being kind of the seed of an idea that's now in every mobile phone. We've got text to speech, speech to text. We've got taking a picture and digitizing material. We've got being able to split a keyboard, being able to have an ergonomic keyboard, mouse mats with wrist guards. All these different things, all there in the cupboard, all used in everyday technology nowadays. And I thought that is really interesting. That's really interesting, because what that means is that this assistive technology isn't an other technology. It's not really, and this has kind of come round about very recently now. It's not really now a separate entity, or sometimes it is, but in many cases, it's not really now a separate entity. There's a quote that someone says that I really, really like, and I'm not above nicking stuff from people. So I'll tell you what the quote is. I'll tell you what the original is, and then I'm going to give you my adaptation. I got to take the shades off. I know those of you that are watching are thinking, "Oh my God, it's not Bono." Oh man, I've been fooled. Yeah, no, sorry guys. There's no rendition of "Streets Have No Name" on here. The original quotation, and I am please forgive me whoever came up with this, because I can't remember the citation, which is terrible digital practice, but once I do, I'll put it on the page at the end of the show. It was essential for some, useful for all. When it came to assistive technology is a subject. Essential for some, useful for all. And I think that is really, really, really kind of central point, but I've changed it a little bit, because it's not some, guys. It's not some. For instance, in my institution, disabled students account for 12% of the student population. I don't know what it's like across the board, and I don't know what it's like across the sectors, but there are many, many, many people with disabilities who would benefit or do benefit from the use of assistive technology. So I got rid of the essential for some, and for me, it's essential for many, useful for all, because it's not just for students with disabilities who need this equipment. All the things that I'm going to talk about in the show could be used by anybody who's listening to help them in their everyday working life. If you're working, hopefully you are. You know, it's a tough economy out there, so I understand if you're not. Or maybe you're having a day off. Maybe you're kicking it on Monday. I doubt it though if you're teaching. Not at the moment. I am working from home tomorrow, and I have just drunk around about 22 coffees to make sure I get through this show. So it's going to be interesting for me tomorrow, but I digress. Essential for many, useful for all. I don't like the idea of assistive technology being kept separate. I've talked about it in previous shows. Microsoft do a really good job of integrating their assistive technology package with existing programs. It's a fantastic model, and it's a model I'd like to see a lot more of. But we're going to be talking about lots of different things later on. So I don't want to get ahead of myself, and I don't want to, well, to be honest, I don't want to run out of material. You know what I mean? It is Sunday night. I won't say that I didn't prep for this show, but I won't say that I did, you know. No, I am perfectly prepped. Thank you very much. So we'll have a look at some top technology. The technology that I've chosen in this case for Tom's Tech Tips, because it is about assistive technology, is specific assistive technology or is marketed as assistive technology. But there's lots of other iterations when it comes to this kind of stuff that are very, very mainstream. So what we'll do is we will have a look and see what those things are. If we think to ourselves, okay, how do we find out about assistive technology? How do we learn about what is good, what is bad, what will suit students and what won't suit the students? Just keep in mind that everything that I am going to recommend today, absolutely everything I'm going to recommend, was at one point just a quick internet search away. That's all it was. That is all that we're doing. People think to themselves, oh, this assistive technology stuff, what's going on? It looks a bit strange. All those mice. Oh no. Oh, it's standing up rather than flat. How is that possible? Oh, there's a keyboard and it's in 2 different sections. Oh no, I'm joshing, really. I'm taking the mick a little bit, but so what I'm trying to say is Tom's Tech Tips today, a quick Google, but to be honest, I knew about this stuff anyway because it's stuff that I recommend to my students and staff. So without further ado, he says, let's have it big style. Oh my, I tell you what, it sends shivers down my spine every time I put that one on. So Tom's Tech Tips for today, we've got a couple. The first one is something called Color Veil. Color Veil is a free to download for Windows assistive technology that allows you to add color overlays to your computer screen. Now, many students who I work with and many students who I have worked with in the past, back in my days of secondary, those were the days, use colored overlays for their work for whatever reason. Color Veil is a free package that you can download onto your computer, and it means that you can have a digital colored overlay. The students that I work with are primarily working with digital materials. So a lot of them have actual physical overlays for the screen. Sometimes that's really, really good, but sometimes it's really clunky, as it were. So Color Veil is my first tech tip because it's easy to use, it's free, you can download it, and then you can have it forever. And it works with any app that you're working on. It doesn't just open up if you open the web, as it were. So assistive technology, Tom's Tech Tips. Tom's Tech Tips number 1 is called Color Veil. What I'll do is I'll put the link to the actual apps that I mentioned in the show, all of them, hopefully. I keep forgetting 1 or 2 in those descriptions, so I'll try not to do that this time. I'll put those in the description at the end for the downloads. Hopefully there's people listening to this live. If you are, hello. If you are, open up Podbean Live, right? Send me a message. Have you got assistive technology that you use? Have you got a favorite program? Let me know. It's always nice to speak to people. There was a couple of lovely people making comments last week, and not like abusive comments. no, not had any of that yet. Give it time. I mean, to be honest, we'll see how this show goes. But yeah, if you've got any questions about assistive technology and you want to leave me a message either through the Podbean or Twitter, the TT Radio 2022. Yeah, give me a shout. I'll see if I can have a look during one of my breaks and then see if I can give you a bit of a shout out for helping me out with the show, because it's always nice to get a bit of audience participation. Dreaded audience participation at things like Inset, fantastic audience participation when it means that I get to spread the show out a little bit. All right, okay, so the next one. Why did I choose this next one for my top? I love this program. I love it. It's simple, it's free, and it's massively difficult to pronounce. Okay, I think it's a Russian word, and I'm trying to bring it up as we speak because I want to get it right because it is such a good program. Now, text to speech is huge at the moment. We have lots of really fantastic programs. I've mentioned things like Otter AI in the past, which is a fantastic text to speech. Text to speech. Yeah, I get this. This is a terrible thing because I do assistive technology. I do the assistive technology, right? So some of this stuff sounds the same. So I've got text to speech and speech to text, and I always, every single time, every single session, get it wrong. And the students, you know, after they've worked with me for a while, they're just like shaking their head. It's like, really, you're advising me? Oh dear, Tom. Oh dear. And then they can just like tap me on my head and send me on my way. But anyway, so the next is it's text to speech software. You write something in or you plug something into the interface and it will read it out to you over the series of speech. But I need to give you the name, and I've been I've been stalling because I've been stalling because it's quite difficult. So it's Balabolka. Balabolka, which is Balabolka, is free to download shareware text-to-speech software. The reason that I have included it today is because there are many different options. Many different options. Oh, hey, there's somebody listening live. It's the first one ever. Wicked. That's brilliant. ZJFDYHUR. Thank you very much for letting me know. You know, I'm going to take that because I'm the best. I'm the best one, right? Yeah. Of course it is. Of course it is. No, I'm joking. Everybody else involved in TT Radio. Obs, nice. Everybody else is really good, but they're just not as good as me. The next, this assistive technology, Balabolka. Balabolka is free to download. Now, when it comes to speech to text programs, there's lots of free options out there. Either online or to download. The issue is sometimes the online versions where you can upload a document, upload a PDF, and it will speak it out to you. If you go for the free options, they have certain limitations to do with word count, to do with the things that to do with maybe you want to convert a PDF to an audio file. Maybe you want to convert a PDF to an MP3. Lots of online text-to-speech options offer that service, but they offer it at a price. Balabolka, and excuse me if my pronunciation absolutely sucks, does all those things for free. It's not pretty, you know, don't get me wrong. It hasn't got a really kind of like swanky user interface. It's free to download for Windows. But what it does really well. You can upload documents, you can upload PDFs, you can upload Word documents, you can upload other online materials and online resources. But it also has all the features that you might find in a paid-for app there. It's fairly accurate. Text-to-speech isn't 100% accurate all the time, no matter what anybody tells you. But for my money, Balabolka, an excellent text-to-speech package. If you haven't done already, it's a really good place to start to see what's available in regards to text-to-speech, TTS as it's known. There are other programs that do exactly the same thing, but this is it's like the OG of text-to-speech. You know, you've got all these up-and-comers, and Balabolka's there outside his shop, just smoking, looking at the world as it passes by, and just like, yeah, I've already done that. Balabolka is a Russian word, I think. So, yes, I've already done that would be the way that you probably say it if you could actually do a Russian accent. So, for two for two, then Color Veil for digital page setup and changing the color or using a digital color overlay. Balabolka for text to speech. And the last one, if I just have a quick look, I had to get Balabolka on the screen because I was not getting that pronunciation wrong. I say it like 5 or 6 different times anyway, a day usually. The last one. Now the last one's a really, really wide-ranging one, but it's one that doesn't necessarily become obvious until you know it exists. Let's have one last tap of the jingle. Let's go. Brilliant. You might have noticed as well that I'm not messing around with the audio effects today. A bit later on, maybe. Yeah, so the last one, when it comes to assistive technology, I said that there's kind of like the 2 versions. There's assistive technology that's marketed and you have to go out of your way to find it. There's assistive technology that's not really assistive technology, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on in the show. But if you're not aware already, native accessibility packages for programs for Windows, for Apple iOS, for Android, for Chrome, the accessibility features that are offered with these programs that are there already, that you don't have to go out and find something else and add it. You can if you want to. Sometimes that's the only way you can get something that works. But there's accessibility. There's assistive technology that's built into the machines that you're using right now. If you're listening to this on your mobile phone, Android has a fantastic built-in speech to text feature. It has a fantastic built-in text to speech feature. You know, you'll have seen it already, because what you do is you say, "Hi Google, guess what that is, guys? Text to speech." You know, yeah. You see, voice recognition is an assistive technology. Started out as an assistive technology for people that were not had mobility issues, couldn't use the physical act of typing, the physical act of tapping on a phone. So we use our voice, and it's everywhere now. It's everywhere. Thank you, assistive technology, or not for like Alexa, because I can't get on with Alexa. Sometimes I think she's just messing with me. You know, you ever get that you think a computer or some form of technology is just kind of taking the mick out of you because they know what you really like. Anyway, yeah. So the native accessibility suites on many different mobile phones, PCs, and other technologies is already there. It's already available. You've probably got it in your hand at the moment. If you move using a mobile phone, you've probably got it on your operating system. If you're listening on a computer, you've definitely got it if you're watching me. Oh, hello, by the way, if there is anybody watching me. I can't actually see if there is a watch count. Anyway, I really should have combed my beard before I started this. Maybe I'll do that in the break. But native accessibility and native assistive technology in the operating systems that everybody uses, they're there already. One of the biggest things that I have to do in my job when I am advising students and staff on assistive technology is say, you've already got these tools. You know, you can already zoom into certain text. You can already turn on the voiceover function and have web pages read to you. You can change the contrast or change the color scheme of your screens. You know, just tap night. Sometimes that really, really helps. Easy reading functions, zoom functions when it comes to web pages, speech to text, text to speech, and I'm trying to think of some of the others. Some phones even already have face tracking built in, so you can just look to move a cursor around. This stuff exists already. This stuff, possibly within the last 5 years or so. This is now mainstream, but the thing is, it's not so mainstream that everybody knows where it is. So if I was going to tell you, if I was crass enough to talk to hardworking teachers and ask them to do one thing when it comes to assistive technology, it would be find your assistive technology package on your own device at some point tomorrow. Okay, it will be under accessibility, or it will be under another. Every phone has them, every computer has them, and if you haven't done this already, just do me a massive favor. Go into Windows is called ease of access, Apple's is, I think, called accessibility. But if you haven't done this, if you've never looked at this stuff, and you think to yourself, well, what's assistive technology? Have a look at these things. They already exist. They're on your machines. And just have a look at the ease of access suite, or have a look at the functions that you have on your Android phone that are assistive technology that that are essential for many, many different people, but they could end up being useful for you as well. With that, guys, I think what we'll do is we'll go to the news, because I am going to use this particular moment to see if I can find my vape. I'm not too sure how assistive that technology is, but what are you going to do? Oh man, how good is that? I tell you what, it makes me can't compare to that. Man's doing investigative journalism. How good is that? What am I doing? I'm sat here like in my attic. This is my Floffice, by the way, base of operations. It's called Floffice because it's a combination of floor and office. Because I'm sat on the floor. If you have a look here, I've got no headspace. I've got no headspace at all. Look, that's literally my headspace. So petition the producers, please, to get me a chair. That'd be wicked. Anyway, so we were talking about assistive technology. We looked at Tom's Tech Tips. Tom's Tech Tips for this week is Color Veil, which is free to download on Windows. It's quite a Windows orientated tech tips list. Those of you that have Apple computers and other Apple products out there, I'll try and get some stuff for you next week. No, not next week. The next time I'm on, which is next month, I think. But yeah, it's quite Windows centric. Color Veil, free to download. Free to download. Really, really good. Just very simple way to get a digital overlay onto your screen, so you can look at the internet, you can look at your documents, you can change it to a pink background, a brown background, an ochre background, like I know what color ochre is. But yeah, really, really good. Then next one was Balabog. I knew I'd get that wrong at one point. Apologies to the makers of this fantastic program. Balabolka is a text-to-speech program where you can upload documentation, or you can upload any type of text, and it will read it to you. One of the reasons that I recommended that particular program is that it has lots of features that you would probably have to pay for if you were to try and find them somewhere else. So really, really good. And then the last one is my plea, which is basic. I'm going to do it again. Just if you haven't had a look at this stuff, if you're wondering about assistive technology, open your Access Suites on your mobile phone or the computer that you're using. Just have a look. Put in ease of access, put in accessibility, and it's usually under settings. And just have a look and see what kind of things that you can do. What you can change. Can you get your phone to read out what is there? Can you zoom in to certain text? Can you change the contrast? All this stuff, really, really useful, and gives you a small insight into some of the tools that students with disabilities have to use. As I said at the top of the show, essential for many, but useful for all. I have a typing speed that is as if a fish was trying to use a keyboard, but not just any fish. A fish would probably get it all right, get like a couple of words maybe every year. I'm talking about a fish that's really technophobic fish is my typing speed. So I use speech to text, especially for documentation that I think, boring stuff, emails, explaining to people why I can't make meetings, that kind of thing. But I can speak, and you may have noticed this. You may have noticed this. I can speak a lot faster than I can type. And so, just have a think about that. That kind of essential for many, useful for all. I don't think this stuff should be separate, which leads me seamlessly, ladies and gentlemen, to the next section of the show. So we talk about assistive technology, and we've talked a little bit about what it is. We've talked about some really good free examples. But I did start the show saying that assistive technology doesn't necessarily have to be technology that is specifically designed for the purpose of aiding disabled people. And in fact, some of the stuff that I recommend to students and staff where I work, it's not specifically designed assistive technology. One of the things that I get to do is I get to research products. Excuse me. Oh, there's a lovely sight for you there on the stream. I get to research products that I think have scope to be used as assistive technology. And if you have a look around my Floffice at the moment, do you see the crazy RGBs at the back? Yeah, I know. Cool, huh? I'm down with the kids. I know what's going on. I can tube with the viewers and and talk with the tickers and with the best of them. Like, but I have a hobby where I stream video games because, you know, I don't get out very much. But using streaming technology for assistive technology purposes is something that I have been looking at recently, and I won't show you what I mean, but I'll describe you what I mean. I'm just having a look to see if I can. I'm wondering whether blue is the best color for me. It's a little, it's nice. I usually choose blue because, like, in the background, because what it does, it hides the bags under your eyes like proper well. You know, if this was actual natural lighting, like natural lighting, even if this was like a natural lighting, I look like a panda at the moment. You know, I look like Droopy, you know, the cartoon dog. So, oh, but the blue light, you know, it takes a couple of years off me. So yeah, I'm liking the blue. Maybe I won't change it. But anyway, so I do a little bit of game streaming on the side. Now, I don't know if you know, but when you're streaming something, there are products that you can buy that have buttons that you press to maybe change camera or put a message up on the screen and so on and so forth. And I looked at a product, and this is something I'm going to mention because this is my big prediction for the next couple of years. There's a product called Touch Portal. Touch Portal means that you can use an old mobile phone or an old tablet that's not really doing anything, might be just knocking around. Maybe your kid's grown out of using that particular piece of technology. Maybe you thought to yourself, oh yeah, I need to get one of those, and you had one go and you think, nah. Not everybody, because that's a crash generalization about what people have, but lots of people have kind of this technology just knocking around, not doing anything. So what you could do is you could download Touch Portal. Now, Touch Portal means that what you can do is you can map buttons on your tablet or your phone to control your computer. Now, what it's usually used for live streaming, much like this one. If I was in control of the stream, I could touch my Touch Portal. Really? I could use Touch Portal. I could press a button. I could change camera. I could use Touch Portal. I could press a button, and I could maybe include an audio effect, such as. Yeah, I'm not using that one again. But what it does, it makes possible complicated keyboard combinations or mouse button press, and it means that you can press a button, so you can do different things, but just press a button really easily and maybe change camera, press a button really easily and bring in an advert, or so on and so forth. And now I thought to myself, I deal with a lot of students, whether they have mobility issues or whether they have anxiety issues in regards to using technology, or whatever the case may be, who would massively benefit from having a simplified input system. You know, I've got a keyboard here. It's everything in this room has like LED RGBs on, including my keyboard. But you have to do fairly complicated actions to do certain things in certain programs. Touch Portal offers a free to start off with. You have to pay something. I can't remember what the price is. Touch Portal offers a way where you can press one button and it will do a number of different things for you, like a macros. It's a macros machine. And I thought to myself, well, surely that would be useful for people who are lacking in mobility to use a keyboard. Surely that would be useful for people who suffer from anxiety when it comes to the use of technology. Surely that would be useful for people who don't want to be tethered to a particular machine or a particular way of inputting when they're doing work. And this is the thinking that I thought to myself, this is why I'm trying to kind of separate assistive technology just from the technology thing. Integrating assistive technology to mainstream technology does come with its issues because, as I've said before in the past, like I have to tell people where the assistive technology is in programs that they're already using, because the philosophy is that you integrate it, then people will use it more because it's not seen as something separate, that it's not seen as something that sets you apart. It means that it becomes normalized. that's great, but it also comes with the issue that no bugger knows where anything is. But that's slightly separate. What I'm talking about here is the tools that maybe weren't originally thought about when it comes to assistive technology. They're the ones that kind of get adopted by users who need these kind of tools to help them, or can utilize these tools to help them in their day-to-day struggles when it comes to their day-to-day lives. For instance, home automation is a big one. You know, I've got Google Minis like spotted around the place. Lots of people have Alexa. Me and Alexa, like I said, no, don't. He or she, depends what voice you're using, doesn't really like me, doesn't like my accent. But Google Mini, I have a couple of spotted around the house. But I work with students who rely on that technology or use that technology. It's not so much a reliance, it's a utilization to do everyday household chores. You know, the things that we find useful. Oh, you know, I'm gonna say to Google, can you give me a recipe for? And I think to myself, that's just really, really easy. You know, it means that I don't have to kind of go to the cupboard and look up a cookery book and find the page and think about the ingredients and all that palaver. And then you think to yourself, well, what if you can't do that? What if you can't? Or what if you can go and find a book and look at the page, but it takes an inordinate amount of effort? So, yeah, the theme of today's show seems to be kind of assistive technology, essential for many, useful for all. I say seems like I haven't sorted that out myself. Like this happens by accident. To be honest, a lot on this show happens by accident. But no, the theme is trying to not just integrate assistive technology into mainstream technology, because assistive technology tends to do that itself through its use and through it being useful, but keeping an eye out for things that might be useful. So you heard it here first on Teacher Talk Radio, the Late Show with Tom Starkey at 8 p.m. Touch Portal. It's usually used for gaming and streaming, but I think may well be picked up as a really, really good assistive technology tool at some point in the future. Also, if you're into that, when the pandemic hit, I had to help many members of staff get used to remote learning, remote sessions, and using technology that they may previously not have even thought about using or touched. So if we simplify that process with things like macros, where you can touch a button to unmute your microphone. How many times? It's the phrase of the last few years. You're on mute. You're on mute. Minute. Yeah. Well, usually it's like, well, those of you that are watching the stream. Yeah, you're on mute is like has been the battle cry for education for the last couple of years. Because, you know, sometimes it's difficult to remember. So, for instance, if you use touchpad, you could have a big red button right in the middle of your tablet that says microphone, and you can just slam on it. Yeah, that's on, slam on it again. That's off. Can you imagine every kind of technological input being that easy? It would be fantastic for me as an able-bodied person, but for a disabled person, it may be an absolute godsend. So have a think about it. Was there anything in your school that you think, actually, we could use this to try and make somebody's life a little bit easier, everybody's life easier? Assistive technology, the definitions for assistive technology usually revolve around disabled people. But in my lectures and seminars, because I do those, yeah, it's hard to believe that I do those, but I do. I try to broaden the definition a little bit, because I think assistive technology it can assist everybody, not necessarily just those with particular issues with particular things. It can help everybody. So thinking about assistive technology in a very, very broad sense, for me, is a benefit. It's a massive benefit, because there is so much technology out there. There is a bazillion apps on the Play Store. I counted them all. It came up to exactly a bazillion. You know, who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? There are a bagazillion jillion on on the iOS, on Apple. There's technology. We are surrounded by it. It permeates our lives, whether we want it to or not. So the choice that people will now have when it comes to things that will help them in their day-to-day life, that will help them in their academic study, that will help them in their pastoral existence, their hobbies, the things that they want to learn, the things that they want to do, are huge, absolutely massive. Sometimes, like, you know, sometimes it's a little bit overawing. You know, you don't know where to start. But there is such a wide range of technology. So I'm really, really lucky that I can, when I recommend technology to students, is that I'm not tethered to a particular funding body. I'm not tethered to a particular business. I can basically recommend just about anything that I think is useful, and that type of freedom, that type of freedom in education is a rare thing. And I am thankful and I am privileged that I can do that, because it's not everybody can. So assistive technology, it's a wide field, it's a broad church, and other fairly basic analogies. There's a lot of it, not only just assistive technology, but technology in general. After we have a little reboot of the news, I'm going to talk about one of the issues in regards to assistive technology and in regards to funding and the Disabled Students Allowance, the DSA, because I think it's important to talk about these type of things, and I think it's important to talk about some of the issues that many of our students face in regards to trying to find things that are useful and perhaps not being particularly well led when it comes to being guided towards things that are useful. But anyway, let's have another listen to the news, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we get back. reason my Wi-Fi keeps dropping out. I don't know why that is. It doesn't seem to be dropping out down this end. I'm not going to blame the people who are running the show. I won't. They're doing a fantastic job. So apologies if you just cut off. Hopefully these great, wonderful people. Yeah. Yeah, I got a smiley face by the man, TR, I like to refer to him now, who's going to have to stitch the show together. I apologize, everybody, if you lost me. I know that could be incredibly difficult for people listening to my velvet tones and then just leaving. So we will, yeah, it's emotional. It is emotional. Thank you very much for that. It's true. It's true. I mean, you see me and you think to yourself, oh, wow, that guy's actually speaking to me. And then you get that ripped away from you. There's a lot of tears, guys. There's a lot of tears, but I'm here for you. Hopefully still, who knows. We'll have a look at that because that's happened a couple of times. And, and that will probably be to do with my wind up internet here in the Floffice. I think I spent the Wi-Fi money on the LEDs, to be honest. If you're watching via YouTube or LinkedIn, my background is very, very blue at the moment. It's looking kind of cool. I think. I don't think PewDiePie has got anything to worry about just yet. But give it a couple more shows. I'm just going to have a swig of coffee here. It's very stressful when technology goes completely kaput. So apologies to the producers, apologies to the listeners out there, and thank you very much for carrying on. So we were talking about assistive technology, and sometimes assistive technology not being really assistive technology at all, just another type of technology that is adopted by people with disabilities and used as assistive technology. My predictions, my Mystic Meg, the Mystic Meg of assistive technology sat here at the moment, thinks that Touch Portal is going to be the next big thing for lots and lots of people, because what it does, it allows simplification of the input process. So the people who struggle to use keyboards, people who struggle to use mouses, you know what I'm talking about. People who prefer to use a smaller device to do things on their computer. I think that's going to take off in a big, big way. And if it doesn't, it should, because it's a fantastic tool. It's a fantastic tool. Anybody that's used macros, anybody that uses kind of keyboard commands rather than struggle with the mouse, like highlighting and underlining. How many people out there still kind of stop their flow and use a mouse to highlight a particular piece of text, to underline it? You're clicking and you're clicking and you're clicking. I work with many students. A lot of my students are absolute keyboard command masters because they have to be. And it speeds up the process of writing no end. So along with having a look at your accessibility suite of the particular technology that you're using, by way of trying to familiarize yourself with some of these tools. Also, have a look at some of the things out there that you think, actually, that might be of use. Because you know your students better than anybody, and you know the ways that they work, and you know what might help them. But keyboard commands, it's such an easy win, guys. It's such an easy win. Do not make the assumption that people know about all this stuff already. That make the assumption that people with disabilities know about some of these things already as well. It's a steep learning curve, and some people haven't had very much time when it comes to having a disability to learn lots of strategies. Some do. Sometimes I think I'm a bit of a fraud doing shows like this because I'm not the expert. I'm not the expert at all. Actual users are the experts. I'm just kind of like the runner, the assistant, just having a look at stuff and like, oh, that might be a good idea. That might be a good idea. And then I let the actual experts use it and see what they think. But yeah, keyboard commands, just means that you're not chopping and changing. Essential for many, useful for everyone, useful for all. But anyway, what we'll do is the last part of the show. I don't know if this is going to be controversial or not, really. I hope not. I hope people take it in the form that it's meant, which is just to help people have a think. Now, I don't know how much you know about disabled students allowance. It's one of the ways that the government helps students who have disabilities pay for some of the things that they might need in regards to education. And when it comes to this disabled students allowance, there's an assessment that students have to go through. As part of that assessment, looks at assistive technology. The assessment, after the assessment has been gone through with students, students are given recommendations for assistive technology that might help them with whatever issues that they may be having, which is great, really, really good. And there's some fantastic assessors out there. I'm lucky enough to be based right next to an assessment centre, and the professionals who I work with in that particular area every day are second to none. I'm not just saying that because they might be listening. might be listening. I'm saying that because it's true. There are some fantastic assessors, hugely knowledgeable about disabilities, hugely knowledgeable about technology. However, what a lot of our students have been reporting back to me as an assistive technology advisor at the place that I work is that the technology that has been recommended to them is not necessarily a perfect fit. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about this show, and I was thinking about some of the themes that I'm trying to get going. Because, you know, I'm an ex-English teacher, so it's all about, you know, strokey bit of themes, subtext, you know, and homophones. But I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about the range of technology out there, and even the huge range now of assistive technology. The assistive technology that I'm seeing disabled students be recommended is from a very, 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 very extremely short list of products. Now, this is because they have to be recommended. They have to go through a series of assessment to make sure that they are suitable. But we're talking a very, very limited list. And it worries me. It worries me. I mean, it doesn't worry me so much that I think to myself, no, you know, I'm going to go grab a placard and start. But it's an underlying thrum of anxiety in regards to assistive technology. Because if there's only a very limited pool of assistive technology that assessors can recommend to disabled students if they go through the assessment for DSA, that doesn't reflect the reality of assistive technology at the moment in any way, shape or form. As I've talked about today, the history of assistive technology is fascinating. We're talking, you know, full-size cassette recorders that can read entire books. We're talking keyboards that you can split into different shapes, different sizes. We're talking mice that just look like they're from an alien planet. I love ergonomic equipment because there is a certain aesthetic when it comes to ergonomic equipment that is amazing. Because what a lot of ergonomic equipment has considered is usability. Aesthetics are there as well. Don't get me wrong. This stuff is stiff. Some of this stuff has to be large, has to be fairly garish for it to be effective. But what the issue I find is that the assistive technology that's recommended through for DSA is a very, very small pool of technology. I can understand why. It might be because these are recognized assistive technologies and have been for many, many years in some cases. However, I think, and this might just be me, but I am in a kind of position to kind of get a kind of overview of this kind of stuff. I think the landscape of assistive technology has changed dramatically over the last maybe 5-10 years. With the advent of mobile technology, with the advent of smart devices, with the advent of availability is the real big one. assistive technology is no longer kind of a separate technology. It's very much kind of hit the mainstream, the point I'm trying to make as we go through. So it does strike me as rather odd that when it comes to recommendations of technology, that it's a very small list. It's a very small list. One of the jobs that I have is to make further recommendations for students who have already gone through the assessment and see if there's anything else. Whether I should be doing that, I don't know. Whether it's a strange one, and it, as I say, slightly controversial. I'm not trying to do anybody's job down at all. But I just think that some assessment centres and some companies have a kind of almost a very closed off way of thinking when it comes to assistive technology. Maybe it's to do with just the sheer weight and the sheer size of the market now. Maybe it's to do with trusting particular companies, or maybe it's to do with something else. But what I really, really think is that I think that when it comes to assistive technology now, we have to start looking at a broader range, because happily, a lot of assistive technology can be very personalized. In my own sessions, I do one-to-one sessions with students, and I say to them, if I recommend something and you don't get on with it, and you think, okay, I might be wasting my time with this, let me know, because there is an alternative out there. It's a buyer's market nowadays. There's not just one product for one thing, which is an assumption that I see again and again, especially when it comes to people who are not used to working with disabled students, people who are not used to working or thinking about assistive technology. There's an assumption that there's just one thing. There's only one screen reader. There's only one speech to text program. There's only one of this. There's only one of that. That is not true at all. There's a huge range of assistive technology out there now, and I think in a perfect world that would be reflected when it comes to the DSA and the assessment that students go through. As I said before, the people who I know, the assessors that I know, fabulous, absolutely brilliant, a wealth of knowledge, personalized, look at a student's issues, look at a student's work, and recommend some fantastic stuff. But the recommendations are from a very, 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 very short list. It's a shallow pool. It's a shallow pool. And so sometimes you find that students have been recommended. Now, I don't know how professional this is. I'm going to take a swig of coffee, because otherwise I don't think I'm going to get to the end of the show. Bear with me for a second. Oh, that's not hot at all. Anyway, so a student may be recommended a very, very heavy speech to text program, where in fact what they could be using something that is lighter, that is mobile based, that doesn't suck so much resource from their PC, and may well be free, because the assistive technology that's recommended during the DSA is paid for. It is paid for, and so sometimes it's very expensive, prohibitively expensive if you don't go through the assessment process. So that's one of the things that I see that I think may be an issue, that perhaps we as professionals, we as professionals and educators need to be aware that this isn't 10, 15, 20 years ago. You don't have the the only option you have for listening to a book is a really, really large full-size cassette player, or the keyboard that you have to use, that you have to use a keyboard at all. And if you don't want to use a keyboard, you want to use speech to text, you want to use text to speech, there are multiple options out there. And sometimes I think when it comes to the DSA, those multiple options aren't recognized, or perhaps are ignored for whatever reason. And I think sometimes that's not the best for disabled students. Speaking personally, it would, I think, the process where a disabled student has time to do their own research and come ready with ideas as to what technology they want to use would be my ideal situation. And I was reading a blog post today and I can't remember the person who wrote it. Just give me a second. I don't want to do that thing where I'm just talking about I read this and I read that. That's not fun. So let me just see if I can find it whilst I'm here. I'm just having a quick shifty on Twitter. Let's have a look. And there's lots of stuff about the show. There's lots of stuff about this. And then there's lots. Oh my God, I don't have to talk some nonsense sometimes. I really do. Apologies if you follow me on Twitter. I don't know why you do that. Goodness me. What a load of old nonsense. I can't find it, but what I'll do is I will put it in the description. It's a really, really, really good piece on the DSA assessment itself and how it could be improved to further help students. One of the suggestions was something that I am bang on with, which is to allow students to try to source or research and source their own technology that can be suggested, rather than just coming up with a very, very limited list of things out there, because it's a world of assistive technology, ladies and gentlemen. It is. We use it every day. You use it every day, whether you know it or not. We've talked about mobile phone usage. We've talked about speech to text. We've talked about smart homes and smart devices. We've talked about home automation. We've talked about me going through a dusty storeroom and finding an absolute treasure trove of classic assistive technology that over the years has become hugely mainstream. So the market is huge, and the list of apps and technologies is massive. So I think that really should be reflected when it comes to assistive technology and when it comes to the DSA. That's the controversial bit out of the way now. I can't talk about that anymore. I don't want to be hunted down by whoever. I mean, I think the some large companies came looking for me after the last show that I did, looking at free alternatives to pay for technology. I don't want to have to be looking over my shoulder for the rest of my days. But anyway, so that is just something to think about. And so if I was going to sum up today's show, it would be blue, I guess. No, it would be looking at assistive technology. Sometimes the fact that we put assistive at the beginning of the technology thing is self-defeating. It is just technology. If I was going to say, take certain things away with you, like I have any right to do that when it comes to educators listening to this. I keep using that word, educators. I like teachers. I prefer teachers, but not everybody is an actual teacher. If you are an actual teacher and you are listening to this at this moment in time, thank you very much. I know it's late, and I know the dark spectre of Monday morning might be looming. So thank you very much. I hope this hasn't added to your anxiety at all. So the point I'm trying to get across, if of course there is a point to this particular show, 50-50. We'll see how it goes. The point I'm trying to make is assistive technology. It's just technology that is essential for many people who need to use it to access their learning, to access their day-to-day lives, to make and improve their lives, and make them better in what can be a very imperfect world. I think in the future we're going to talk a little bit, and because we're running out of time, let me do my technophobic thing now. It's counterintuitive. I'm an assistive technology advisor, but sometimes, a lot of the time, I talk about not so much anti-technology, but some of the limitations. And I haven't really talked about the limitations at the moment. One of the issues with assistive technology is that it can be, and has been used, as a way to disregard decent design. So, for instance, on websites, there are certain companies that create kind of assistive technology overlays for websites to make them more accessible. And, that's a fairly noble pursuit, in my opinion. However, what should be being done, which sometimes is, many times isn't, is that a website should ensure that it's accessible anyway. shouldn't need to add something onto a website to make sure that everybody can use it, guy. You know, that's and so when we talk about assistive technology can be beneficial, and when it works well, and when people are able to access it, when people have the knowledge that it exists, it's fantastic stuff. But one of the things that I worry about, because as I confessed in previous shows, previously on Sunday Late Show with Tom Starkey, I worked in educational consultancy, and I worked for technology consultancy. So assistive technology has limitations, and those limitations can be very obvious. And there's no assistive technology that beats thinking about accessibility from the start. You can have all the add-ons, you can have all the apps, you can have all this and all that can be added onto something to make it usable, whether that's a digital space, whether it's a physical space. But if somebody took the time to think about accessibility before any of this stuff, a lot of it wouldn't be necessary. I'd probably be out of a job, right? But a small price to pay, isn't it? So the point being, assistive technology isn't the be-all and end-all for accessibility. Thought is the be-all and end-all for accessibility. Being able to empathize, being able to imagine a situation that is away from a model of person who is able-bodied. That's the real accessibility right there. Assistive technology can take you a little way, but that kind of thought and having the voice of disabled people first and foremost in your mind in any type of design, that's the stuff. That's the A grade stuff. Okay, you know, there's only so much apps can do, basically. But on that rather negative note, let's have a quick summary of the show. The half and half show once again. I've got to get my Wi-Fi sorted out. God knows what's going on. So we started at the top of the show. We talked about assistive technology being kind of the precursor of just general mainstream technology. That's what happens. The idea that people have to help people who have disabilities often filter and just become mainstream technology. So it's not necessarily useful to think of assistive technology as a separate thing. For Tom's Tech Tips, we looked at Color Veil, we looked at Balabolka, we looked at native accessibility suites of Chrome, Apple, Android, Windows, the operating systems that you're using. Have a look at some of the accessibility features if you're interested in helping students or guiding students towards them. You've all got machines, you all got technology that has this stuff already. Then we looked at assistive technology that's not really assistive technology, but is assistive technology. It's it's a very catchy title. Touch Portal as an assistive technology to help with mobility issues and other types of issues, and being aware that it's not necessarily just assistive technology or bespoke assistive technology that's going to be helpful for many students. Excuse me. And then looking at some of the limitations of assistive technology through some of the practices in regards to the DSA and some of the fairly cynical uses of assistive technology when it comes to decent design. But anyway, you know, that's a fair bit to be getting on with. I know you're probably all still fairly stunned to have my face on this show. You know, it's really weird. It's a really weird experience. I like it a little bit. I'm not too sure if I like it hugely, but it's a good way to have a look and see what my background looks like. You know, so that's quite cool. That's quite cool. And you don't know where to look either. I don't know if anybody's on the actual video stream. I don't know whether to look at the camera like this, you know, like, or whether I should be looking down at my notes, or whether I should be looking at my micro. Who knows? Who knows? I'm new to this. You know, big shout out to production. A big shout out to Seema and Tom Rogers. Thank you very much for guiding me through this process. Once again, apologies for any technical difficulties that you have to deal with whilst I'm asleep, Tom. I'm sorry, man. I'm only kidding. And just a passing thought. The thing I want to take away is, if you're interested in assistive technology, you want to get a handle on these things, have a look at what you are using at the moment. Have a look at an ease of access suites, or usually in your settings function. Familiarize yourself with some of the things that are going on. Yeah, and I think that's just about it for today, because I think people in my house want to go to bed. I hear some kind of rustlings and rumblings and, like, passive aggressive door shuttings. So I think it's pretty much time for me to get off. Once again, sorry about technical issues. Hopefully I didn't lose too many people. Hopefully you get to carry on. And hopefully, if you're not listening to this live, what are you doing? There's a stream. You can see my shiny head. But if you're not listening to this live, have a go at downloading this later on digitally, and you can have a listen to me wherever you are. Look at that. The downloading of sound files. I wonder where that idea came from. Anyway, listen, thank you very much for putting up with me on the Sunday night. Have a really, really good day tomorrow, and I'm sure to speak to you all soon. Cheers.